And welcome back, guys, to the final round. My name is Jake. It is time to talk about this fight. It is Terrence Bud Crawford versus Saul Canelo Alvarez, the biggest fight of the year. It's the big boxing fight. It's the fight everyone's been waiting for. It's so produced, so massive. In this video, this will be a pretty quick one. More of a debate with myself and other people who I've talked to. Is this fight? It's a massive fight. It's a huge fight. I'm so excited for it. I'm glad we're getting it. It is sort of reminiscent of when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Marvin Hagler way back in 1987. Sugar Ray had gone up to 154, but was primarily a 147 fighter. Fought Hagler at 160. Terrence and that if it it was only one weight class because he had won a 154 title. Um, but I think it's Larry Bonds. I forgot. Maybe that was just one of his defenses. But he was a good fighter, man. Larry Bonds. He wasn't great, but he was pretty solid. My dad watched him fight years ago. Said he was pretty good. Um, so yeah, for Sugar Ray, he did go up two divisions. Pretty much. Crawford is going up pretty much three. Which you don't really see. It's not impossible, and we have seen it. Um, Juan Manuel Marquez went up, I think, two or three weight classes. I think he was either at 135 lightweight or it might have been 130. And when he fought Floyd Mayweather at welterweight, that was two or three weight classes. But you don't usually see someone go three whole ones. I mean, you see kind of two or three, but Bud Crawford started his career as, I believe, a 130 pounder. Um, in my next video, which is going to be this fight, I'm going to show you how we got here. This video is just going to be primarily based on one question, and it it is, how do we look at this fight? Is this a super fight? Is this a mega fight? Is it a fight of the century? Let's start with the first one. Is this a super fight? No question. It is a bona fide super fight. It's the definitely one of the biggest fights we've. I mean, it's the biggest fight of the year. It's the biggest fight we've gotten since Beterbiev and Bivol. Obviously, this will be bigger than that because they're different. They're more contrasting and what's the word? Uh, more profound personalities than Beterbiev and Bivol. Obviously, both of those guys are, you know, both of those guys are obviously Russian descent. Don't speak much English, even though Canelo doesn't speak a bunch of English. He's gotten a lot better. For many, my next fighter profile will be on recently retired former, I think I don't think he ever won a world title. Austin Trout. For fans who don't know, quick preview for that video. He was Canelo's last fight before he fought Floyd Mayweather when he was still undefeated. Trout had a very interesting career. I'll go into that in that video. But I remember after he beat Trout, and for all those fights, even when he beat James Kirkland, he really couldn't speak much English. He could say like a couple words. He's gotten a lot better. I think really was when he fought Triple G. He was doing so much media, and Triple G himself was never great at English, but he got a lot better. Like even like even sorry guys, I've been battling a bit of a went to the Patriots game this past weekend. I got a cold. I could just pause the video. I know, but you're gonna see me wipe my nose like a fucking slob. So yeah, but we're here. Isaiah's probably gonna be tonight when we do the contender series. I'm obviously recording this on Tuesday. He's gonna be like, what are you doing? That means I get a game. But yeah, back to this fight. Is it a super fight? Yes, it is a super fight, 100%. And it does help that Canelo speaks more English now. Obviously, that's good as Bud. He's American. But it makes sense that Canelo speaks English. He's been living in Sherman Oaks, California for at least over a decade, probably more. So it helps both fighters speak English. It is, I mean, It's a super fight because I would put Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol as the prime example of a recent super fight. A super fight doesn't have to be for titles. It usually is though. Like when Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fought, I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna check. I'm not entirely sure if they fought for a world title in that fight. I don't know exactly. Let me go check. I don't think they fought for a world title. I'll look. Um, they did. Yeah, actually, yeah, they did. They fought for they fought for the WBC and WBO welterweight championship, which Floyd had gained. Um, because Floyd beat Canelo in 2013. Um, and before that, he actually hadn't been welterweight champion since was he? Yeah, no, yeah. So he became welterweight champion when he came back and he beat Victor Ortiz. That's the famous headbutt fight. Um, then he went up and fought Miguel Cotto for I think his WBA or WBO super welterweight title. He then went back down, defended his WBC welterweight title against Robert Guerrero, and then went up and fought Canelo. And at the time when he fought Marcos Maidana, I believe he still had his title. They hadn't stripped him, even though it had been a whole year. And the second fight, it was interesting that their second fight, him and Maidana, was at welterweight, but the WBC welterweight title was on the line, which made no sense. Um, um, and yeah, and now that I'm remembering, Pacquiao fight was actually technically a unification because I think Pacquiao was the WBO and Floyd was the WBC, even though no one cared about that. And that's when you have a mega fight. Now, obviously, obviously Mayweather versus Pacquiao did not live up to the hype at all. It did not, in no sense of the word, obviously. However, it was a fight of the century, hyped fight. Um, I think that this fight between, obviously this fight between Canelo and Bud is for sure the biggest fight we've had since then. Um, which obviously puts it in a super fight. I could go mega fight. I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to say it now. It's not a fight of the century type fight. It's not. We already had a fight of the century. Now, everyone was saying, fight of the century. Fight of the century. Oh, I just saw a preview for a fight. Hold on, guys. I'm just checking because I don't want to miss a fight between Muradon Makhmaliev. All right, I'm just gonna look at it anyway. I'm sorry, guys. Real quick, I don't want to. I keep forgetting when Noe Inoue versus Muradon Akhmaliev. Holy shit! This weekend? Oh no! Oh man, what time is it? Oh shit! Please tell me this in Japan. It's in Japan. We're good. Okay, I can watch it. I was pissed that was in America. I'm sorry, guys. That's in Japan. Oh, it's on Sunday, so I can watch it because it will be set. It will be. It's gonna be Sunday here. Is that how it works? I don't know. Sunday there? I don't know. I'm gonna watch that. That is awesome. Oh my god! I didn't know this was happening. Oh wow! This is. Oh, I didn't know this. I thought this was. Sorry, guys. I just realized I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, that's the best thing ever. Holy shit. Okay, but sorry. I'm definitely going over that fight this week for sure. But going back to our thing, it's not a fight of the century type fight, and here's why. Everyone already proclaimed a Mayweather and Pacquiao as fight of the century. Some people were saying it for you people saying it for Bivol. In terms of just like skill and talent, in terms of the two, you know, I'd say most badass, balls to the wall, technical power, brutal fighters of the last 25 years. It's better Bill. It was Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev, but those guys don't have the stature in the American market to make it that. I know there are fans, myself included. It is a century type fight in terms of the action. One of those great fights that you're always going to remember. I'm always going to remember watching the first two fights. Um, I'm similar to why, similar to me as a UFC comparison would be Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald, the second fight. I watched the first fight after the second fight. I had not seen the first fight at the time I watched the second fight, but it still compares to that. It's two great fights that you're never going to forget. And I think also to give credit to this fight as to why it's a mega fight. It is a mega fight because you are having the two guys who are, even though Canelo isn't viewed as the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now, um, people really still view Bud as the number. Now, obviously, if you go to BoxRec, it shows Alexander Usyk is number one, and I tend to agree with that. However, this fight got booked before Usyk defeated Dubois, and people still had that. No, I love Usyk; he's one of my favorite boxers ever. But before the Dubois fight, all the British fans, I want to shout out Proper Boxing, the YouTube channel. That guy is hilarious. He is awesome. I'm watching his videos recently. He's like, hey, Usyk went in there. Hey, good job for Danny boy, innit? I'm a bloody big fan of it. It's just like I love that. That's awesome. Um, but like before that fight, people still, obviously people still view Bud as the best in the world. But really, you had Usyk's first difficult fight with Dubois, and people were saying, "Oh, I think Dubois is going to beat him for sure." Obviously, Usyk went in there and took care of business, destroyed him easily, as we should have expected, as I did, of course. Um, um, but here's the thing: right now, are these two guys the two best fighters in the world? Currently, they're two of the best fighters in the world. Two of the best. For some reason, I'm looking at people's pound for pound. I don't see Bud Crawford on here. I don't understand why. Oh, is it all the divisions? Is that why? I don't understand why. Huh. It doesn't really bother. It doesn't really bother me that Boxer doesn't. I mean, I'm just a bit surprised that they don't have Bud Crawford on here. But I mean, it's not the biggest deal. I just would have expected them to have it on here. But but this. I mean, is it a super fight? Yes. Is it a mega fight? The difference between a super fight and a mega fight is a super fight is between, obviously the perfect example would be if UFC people MMA would be Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. A super fight is when someone goes up to a different weight class to fight a big champion and they're a former champion. That creates a super fight. When Henry Cejudo fought Dominic Cruz, it wasn't a super fight. Only the fact is Dom wasn't in his prime. If Henry Cejudo at that point was fighting Dominic Cruz when he fought T.J. Dillashaw, that's a super fight. That is a super fight. Um, if TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz had a rematch after their first fight, which I still think that TJ won, that would have been a super fight. Super fights can happen off rematches, but mega fights, super fights, you can happen off of two things. Offer that's I can't see two. It's like one, two. One being obviously built up hype, records, resume, everything. Uh, the second thing is a crazy war like Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Los Montes de Piedras Roberto Duran was viewed as a super fight. It became a fight of the century because it was such a great fight. Uh, I don't know if it was fight of the century. It definitely can be viewed as that. I view it as a massive mega fight that spawned another big mega fight. Um, super fights, these kind of and people go super fight, mega fight. Isn't it the same thing? It's not. Floyd versus Canelo was a mega fight. It was a super fight too, but it was a mega fight more off because Canelo was undefeated. People thought he was going to beat Floyd. Obviously, he didn't. And Floyd's been in like 5 or 6 mega fights. Like his fight for Arturo Gatti was a super fight. It wasn't a mega fight because Gatti was, even though he had sort of rebounded by 2006. He really shouldn't. I mean, let's be honest. He should never have been in there against Floyd in 2006. He just shouldn't have been. However, it was a super fight. Now, a mega fight really. Now you can have a super fight, and the other guy proved not to be up to snuff. Now, looking back on it with the action we got in Mayweather versus Pacquiao, that should only be viewed as a super fight. It should be. It should be viewed as fight of the century. The reason why it is fight of the century is because it was hyped up so much. And now, maybe this is just me. At the time, I was 15, 16 years old. Maybe I view it a little differently because it was when I was growing up and it felt bigger than now. Now is different. I was in school. I didn't have a lot of work. I think I was working, but I wasn't. I was working part time for my uncle or something. I didn't have much to focus on but boxing, and I was starting to train at that time too. So for me, it was everything. Maybe Pacquiao consumed my every being. This fight hasn't, and it's not because of this fight. It's because I've been busy with work. I have other stuff. My girlfriend. There's a bunch of things of why I'm not as invested in this fight as it was with Pacquiao. Um, and that's not on this fight. That's on me. That's me personally, and I will take myself out of that. Looking at it, whether it's subjectively or objectively, I don't know the difference between the two words. I use them interchangeably, so just look out for that. Subjectively or objectively, whatever the word it means what I need it to mean. Looking at this fight, it is a mega fight. It is a mega fight because both guys are now. We don't know if Canelo's really in his prime. He hasn't been. Now, the last time we thought he was in his prime was when he fought Bivol. I mean, truly, he. I mean, here's the thing. People say, "Oh, he's been in his prime for years." He was in his prime when he fought, Triple G, the first two times. The third fight came more recently, so maybe not. But for me, his prime it it either ended with Bivol or it sort of what's it called? Got into the middle of his prime when he fought Sergey Kovalev. Because to me, when he beat Kovalev, I'm like, holy crap, he beat Sergey Kovalev, and Kovalev was a little older, but still, he went up into 175, and that was before he won any titles. I think he fought Rocky Fielding at 168. But besides that, I think he just had that one fight as 168. I mean, a couple other fights, but he was not the unified champion at 168 at the time. He went down after Kovalev and then dominated that whole division. Now, obviously, as a big fan of David Benavidez as I am, and I will be doing a whole bunch of videos on Benavidez versus Anthony Yard. I think that fight is fascinating. Fascinating. I'm going to do a video about Anthony Yard's career. Go watch Proper Boxing's video about Anthony Yard's career. It's probably better than I'm going to do, but I'll try my best to be second fiddle to that. But if Canelo had fought and beaten David Benavidez in the last 2 years, I would feel a lot differently about this fight. Uh, and I'm going to get into my actual analysis later in the week. I'm going to make a bunch of videos. Just wanted to make this one about just to classify this fight. Is it a super fight? Yes. Is it a mega fight? Yes. Is it fight of the century? No. And as I stated, the reason why is that we have had fights like this between two guys in their prime, megastars. We've had it in this century. We've had it. We had Mayweather Pacquiao, which was a fight of the century. Just its hype and billing. Obviously, it turned out to be just a super fight type fight, but it still was billed as that. As I said, I am taking myself out of that and looking at it objectively. It was billed as that. I mean, everyone mentioned the word "fight of the century." Everyone, because really everyone thought that Pacquiao, and shout out to the great HBO commentator, one of the greatest of all time, Jim Lampley. He was recently on the Joe Rogan JRE podcast with Joe Rogan, and he talked about that fact that himself, Max Kellerman, everyone around HBO boxing in the game sort of realized that Floyd Mayweather was gonna pick apart Manny for 12 rounds and absolutely dominate him. And that's what happened. Everyone goes, that's not going to happen, and then it ended up happening. And I think just everyone who was super involved in the game thought it was going to be a great fight, ended up not being. But that was our fight of the century that we've gotten in this century. I'm sure now there are potential fights on the horizon that could be, like, for me, the super fight that we're probably never going to get, or the fight of the century, is a fight between Noya Inoue and Tank Davis. Now, that fight will probably never happen, and it only could become a fight of the century if Tank Davis wasn't getting in trouble, if he beat Lamont Roach, if he really didn't care about all the money and promotional problems he has. If he was just like, if he had the same mindset as Inoue, which is moving up, unifying, defending, moving up, unifying, defending. If he had that mindset, they might meet around this year or a year or two, and it'd be the biggest fight ever. Not ever, but you know what I mean? It'd be a fight of the century. It won't be because, and and nothing to do with as nothing with the monster, all to do with Tank, but that's he's got his own problems right now. Tank's his own guy, and the whole Jake Paul thing. I don't even want to get into that right now, but this was just kind of a brief little thing about how I think this fight should be classified. Is it a super fight? Yes. Is it a mega fight? Yes. Is it a fight of the century? No, for all the reasons I mentioned. Is it the biggest fight we've had since Mayweather Pacquiao? Yes. Is it bigger than Mayweather Pacquiao? No. And I'm not blaming Dana White for this. It's not the UFC's fault. The Division of Boxing isn't established yet, and they have to have it on their channel. That has affected some of the promotion for me. As myself and other fans having it on a UFC channel, it does help to get views because they don't really have a Zuva boxing channel, or if they do, it's not established. They should put all I'm the recent Canelo versus Crawford embedded thing is listen to me, and it's smart by Dana. He's using his staff, his he is really not using his UFC promotional staff. The same guys who do all the UFC embedded, all those stuff, all the production. He's using them for this fight, which is smart. He's smart to use them for this fight. It's smart, but for MMA fans, it's almost too familiar. It's like, no, I want something different. I want something close to HBO. Now, this is just me talking. I want something close to HBO boxing. I'm going to say this now. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that John Anik is doing this fight. I don't like it. Max Kellerman's great. Whoever they bring on as the third, whether it's Roy Jones, whether it's Roy Jones or Andre Ward, whoever the third person is, if I don't care, it doesn't matter who it is. It can be Daniel Cormier. I don't care if it's an MMA guy. It shouldn't be John Anik. It should be Jim Lampley or Mauro Ranallo, two guys who have done a number of Canelo's fights. And Jim Lampley has done a number of Terence Crawford's fights. Yes, they were early on, but he's done a number of his fights. I'd be even fine with Joe Tessitore doing it. He did a number of Bud Crawford's fights when he was fighting at Top Rank. And I'm not saying that John Anik is bad, but you need someone who has done these fighters. They don't have to be. You can have one of the guys who do. I think it's Scott Grisham who I think Scott Grisham from the Zone. He's not even one of my favorites. I prefer him over Johnny because he's done Canelo fights. He's done Bud fights. He's done these fights. You could even if you get the guy who does the Golden Boy shows on the Zone, just somebody who's done these guys before. I understand that John Andy probably knows them. He's getting familiar with it. I get it. He's an MMA commentator. He's not a boxing commentator. There is a big difference. But it's Dana White's show. I'm sure the turkey's just saying yes to everything because he not worships Dana, but he thinks Dana is the best in the world, and he is an MMA or was, according to Isaiah's recent Savage Rants video, and I do agree with that. This should be Jim Lampley or Mauro Ranallo or Joe Tessitore, and I'm not even a big Joe Tessitore fan. I'd take him any day. I'd take him and Tim Bradley. No offense over John Anik and Max Kellerman. No offense. But that's a little thing besides it. Is this fight a super fight? Yes. Is it a mega fight? Yes. Is it a fight of the century? No. Now, this is the biggest fight we've had since Mayweather versus Pacquiao. It's going to be the second biggest. I mean, this fight is going to end up I'm sure all the viewings, it's not pay-per-view, so it is sort of kind of unique in that way. It's the first non-pay-per-view super fight that we've ever really had since probably the 70s. Or I don't know if pay-per-view was in full swing by the 80s, but I believe this is probably the first super fight mega fight we've had since probably Leonard Duran. Because I do believe that I think that Hagler, Hearns, and then Hagler and Leonard were pay-per-views. I might be wrong. Maybe they were on CBS or ABC or whatever. But not since the 80s. The majority of Mike Tyson's fights that were huge in the middle 80s were all eventually on pay-per-view at some point. So, this is the first big fight we've had. It's on cable TV, but it's still on a free TV service. It's streaming, so it's unique in that way. But take everything together. Is Canelo versus Crawford a super fight? Yes, it is. Is Canelo versus Crawford a mega fight? Yes, it is. Is it the biggest fight we've had? Is it the second biggest fight we've had in the 21st century? I'd have to go back and look at all the receipts, but I'm pretty sure it's going to turn out to be. Is it a fight of the century type fight? No, not really. I mean, is it a fight of the decade? Probably. it's probably going to turn out to be the fight. It's probably going to be the biggest promotional fight of this decade, mostly, unless we do get something involving it anyway, and Tank Davis, which probably won't happen. But you know, you never know. I never this fight been talked about for years. I never thought it was going to happen. It's happening now. Crazy. Um, but that's just this video. Appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for watching the final round. My name is Jake, and remember, the greatest fighters always leave it all in the final round. See you guys.